Let me talk to you for a moment, because there is a woman the world keeps misunderstanding. She's not loud. She's not chasing attention. She's not begging to be chosen. She chooses herself, and that makes her dangerous. Not dangerous because she wants to destroy, dangerous because she cannot be controlled. When a woman learns how to stand alone, think alone, pray alone, and hear God for herself, she becomes a force the world doesn't know how to manage. I'm not talking about loneliness. I'm talking about solitude. Solitude is when God pulls you away, not to break you, but to build you. Because every powerful creation of God is shaped in private before it is revealed in public. Listen to me carefully. A woman who is comfortable in solitude has already defeated fear, insecurity, and dependence. She doesn't move when people push her. She moves when God speaks, and that kind of woman, she doesn't ask for permission, she walks in alignment. There is a woman who chooses solitude, not because she is lonely, but because she understands the value of quiet. In a world full of noise, constant notifications, endless opinions, and people always telling her what to think, how to feel, or what to do, she steps back. She removes herself from the crowd, from the pressure, from the chaos, because she knows that wisdom doesn't arrive in the middle of noise. Wisdom comes in silence, in reflection, in the sacred space where she listens carefully, not to everyone else, but to the whisper of God's guidance, the inner voice of clarity, and the deep knowing of her own spirit. When she sits alone with her thoughts, she begins to recognize the difference between what is urgent and what is truly important. She sees the patterns others miss. She notices the subtle cues that reveal truth, while the rest of the world is blinded by distraction. It's in these quiet moments that her discernment is honed, sharpened like a blade in fire, polished until it becomes unbreakable. She can sense motives, intentions, and energy with a precision that can only come from reflection, from solitude, from paying attention to the universe and the God within her. Consider this. The woman in solitude is like a driver navigating a busy city without a GPS. Everyone else is honking, rushing, panicking, taking wrong turns, but she moves deliberately. She looks for the signs, she reads the streets, she feels the rhythm of the traffic, and she arrives at her destination calmly, confidently, and on her own terms. She doesn't follow the herd because she has learned that the herd does not always lead to the right place. She discerns where the traps are, where the detours hide, and where the shortcuts truly lie. And that kind of discernment comes from hours spent listening to herself, contemplating choices, and seeking wisdom in silence. Her friends and colleagues might not understand it. They may see her as quiet, reserved, or even distant, but in truth, she is observing, she is learning, she is absorbing. Every interaction becomes a lesson, every conversation a mirror. She can spot insincerity the moment it enters the room. She recognizes flattery for what it is, discernment for what it can reveal, and manipulation before it has a chance to take root. And she does this not because she is suspicious of people, but because she values the alignment of her life. She refuses to be misled, misdirected, or misused. Think about the small moments in daily life. A coworker offering help. Is it genuine or is it self-serving? A friend sharing a secret. Is it honesty or is it gossip dressed in trust? A lover making promises. Are they true or are they empty words meant to soothe impatience? The woman who embraces solitude has the power to see beyond the surface. She doesn't rush to react. She doesn't assume. She doesn't let emotion cloud judgment. She pauses, she observes, she analyzes, and in that pause, she discovers truth others can't see because they are too busy responding instead of reflecting. Even in the simplest of choices, deciding where to invest her time, energy, or resources, her discernment guides her. She knows which battles are worth fighting and which are meant to pass. She can sense opportunities that others overlook because she has trained herself to notice details, patterns, and the subtle guidance that comes from God's wisdom working quietly in her life. She can feel when a path will lead to growth, when a relationship will lead to enrichment, and when a situation will lead to unnecessary conflict or compromise. Solitude also teaches her to trust herself. In a world where people constantly offer advice, some helpful, some manipulative, she learns that the ultimate guidance comes from within, from the still, quiet voice of God and the knowledge of her own soul. She becomes fearless in making decisions because she has spent time alone learning to listen. She does not require constant validation because she has learned that clarity and truth are more powerful than popularity or approval. She discerns what aligns with her purpose and moves with conviction, while the crowd chases noise and distraction. And here's the most dangerous part for the world. She doesn't need to announce her understanding. She doesn't need to prove herself. Her power lies in the quiet observation, in the invisible awareness, in the ability to respond thoughtfully while others react impulsively. People might try to test her, challenge her, or manipulate her, but her solitude has equipped her with a radar that can detect falsehood, empty promises, and hidden agendas long before they become a problem. Every decision she makes is intentional. Every step she takes is calculated with wisdom. Every relationship she nurtures is chosen with discernment. And all of this comes from the hours she spends in silence, reflecting, listening, and understanding the deeper currents of life. While the world worships noise, activity, and constant motion, she worships stillness, thoughtfulness, and alignment. And that is what makes her not just strong, but dangerous in the most powerful sense. A force that cannot be swayed by superficial influence or distracted by chaos. The woman who values solitude sharpens her discernment like a sword in the fire of reflection. She sees, understands, and acts with clarity that others cannot imagine. She is a reminder that strength, wisdom, and power are not loud, they are quiet. They are cultivated in the unseen, in the everyday decisions, and in the courage to be alone. She is proof that solitude is not emptiness, it is preparation. It is the birthplace of discernment, and discernment is the foundation of unstoppable power. There is a woman who has learned the greatest secret the world rarely understands. She does not need anyone to validate her existence. She walks through life carrying herself with a quiet confidence because she has discovered that her worth is not measured by likes, comments, compliments, or approval. She is not emotionally dependent on someone else's attention, affection, or affirmation. That makes her dangerous, not in a threatening way, but in a liberating way, because she cannot be controlled. She cannot be swayed by the tides of popularity, the pressure of social expectation, or the opinions of those who do not truly know her heart. Every day we see people living in emotional chains, tied to the approval of others, desperate for acceptance. But not her. She doesn't need a partner to complete her, a friend to console her, or a crowd to celebrate her. She is whole in her solitude, strong in her self-awareness, and rooted in the understanding that the source of her value comes from within. She recognizes the difference between love and validation, between companionship and dependence. She has chosen to rely on her own spirit and the divine guidance of God, who whispers clarity, purpose, and strength in the quiet moments of reflection. Think about the woman who wakes up in the morning and chooses her own path. She doesn't wait for someone to tell her she is beautiful, intelligent, or capable, because she already knows it. She looks in the mirror and sees a force in the making, a purpose unfolding. When a colleague criticizes her, she pauses, evaluates, and grows, but she does not crumble. When a friend betrays her, she grieves, learns, and moves forward, but she does not break. Her emotional independence allows her to navigate life with a balance and resilience that most people only dream of. Consider the daily interactions we all face. Someone may ignore her text, decline her invitation, or refuse to recognize her efforts. The emotionally dependent person reacts with despair, anxiety, or anger. But she takes a deep breath, observes, and moves forward. She knows that her peace is not held hostage by anyone else's actions. She understands that emotional freedom is the ultimate power because it allows her to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. She can choose joy, choose patience, choose growth, and choose love without needing anyone else to supply it. Even in relationships, her emotional independence has her rare and remarkable. She does not cling, beg, or compromise her essence for someone else's comfort. She can love deeply, support fully, and share generously, but her happiness is never outsourced. She recognizes that people come into her life to enhance it, not to define it. That knowledge gives her a calm authority. It makes her magnetic because people are drawn to someone who is whole, confident, and aligned, rather than someone seeking constant reassurance. Daily life is filled with small tests of emotional strength. A coworker may take credit for her work. A friend may fail to acknowledge her effort. A stranger may dismiss her ideas. In each moment, she has a choice to react from dependence or to act from independence. She chooses the latter. She has built a fortress around her heart, not to isolate herself, but to protect her energy, her peace, and her purpose. Her discernment allows her to separate what deserves her attention from what does not. She responds from wisdom, not emotion. And that is what makes her dangerous. She cannot be manipulated by guilt, flattery, or fear. Her independence also allows her to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. She spends time reflecting, meditating, and listening to the subtle whispers of God guiding her. She does not rely on constant external reinforcement because she has cultivated a deep connection with herself and the divine. Her decisions are intentional, her actions are deliberate, and her energy is reserved for what aligns with her purpose. People who attempt to sway her or undermine her quickly realize that she is untouchable in her self-possession, even in moments of challenge, financial stress, personal setbacks, or disappointment. She does not crumble. She faces life with a steady heart because she knows her value is not dependent on circumstance. She understands that external events are temporary, but her inner strength is eternal. And that gives her unwavering confidence that others cannot comprehend. The world may try to label her as aloof, proud, or unapproachable, but in truth, she is simply free. Free from the emotional chaos that consumes most. Free to rise above petty conflict, drama, and insecurity. Free to focus on what matters, her growth, her purpose, and her alignment with the divine. Her emotional independence makes her a model for others, whether they realize it or not. People watch her navigate life calmly, gracefully, and decisively. They wonder how she remains so unshaken while others crumble under the weight of opinion, rejection, and expectation. She doesn't boast. She doesn't preach. She doesn't need to. Her power is quiet. Her influence profound. Because when you are emotionally independent, you are unstoppable. You are untouchable. You are dangerous in the most beautiful sense because no one can redirect your path, no one can diminish your light, and no one can dictate your worth. So she walks through life standing tall, not arrogant, not boastful, but empowered. She understands the art of self-possession. She knows that happiness is cultivated, not borrowed. She knows that validation is internal, not external. And she moves through every situation with grace, clarity, and unshakable strength. This is the power of emotional independence, a force that builds empires, nurtures souls, and inspires every person who crosses her path. There is a woman who has walked through storms that would have broken most people, yet she stands unshaken. She knows something that many never learn. Pain is not meant to destroy her. Pain is meant to teach her, shape her, and elevate her. And she has discovered the secret most people miss. Solitude is where pain becomes power. When she steps away from the crowd, when she chooses silence over distraction, she begins the alchemy of transformation. What once hurt her now fuels her. What once left scars now marks her strength. Think about the everyday trials that come at us without warning. A friendship betrayed, a dream deferred, a relationship ended, a mistake that cost her dearly, a harsh word that cut deep. Most people react immediately. They lash out, drown in regret, or cling to what they lost. But she retreats into solitude. She sits with her thoughts. She allows herself to feel the hurt fully, without judgment, without shame, without running. And in that sacred space, pain stops being her enemy and becomes her teacher. She listens, she reflects, she learns in solitude. She learns the art of perspective. She sees the bigger picture that was invisible in the heat of pain. That betrayal wasn't a dead end. It was a redirect. That failure wasn't proof of weakness. It was an opportunity for growth. That loss wasn't an ending. It was preparation for something far greater. Pain, when processed in silence, reveals wisdom that no lecture, no conversation, no external advice can provide. And she emerges from those moments stronger, sharper, and more aligned with her true purpose than she ever was before. Consider the woman who was once rejected at work, passed over for promotion, or dismissed when she had great ideas. She could have become bitter, angry, or resentful, but instead she chose solitude. She reflected on what she could learn, what she could improve, and what she truly wanted. She studied her craft quietly, honed her skills, and when the right moment came, she stepped forward not as a desperate contender, but as an undeniable force. Pain had been her training ground. Solitude had been her mentor, and the world had no idea what was coming. Even in relationships, solitude transforms her. When love ends, when promises are broken, when hearts are shattered, she DOs. Not immediately seek someone to fill the void. She does not drown in sorrow or try to replace what was lost. Instead, she retreats inward. She learns about her own heart, her own desires, and her own value. She grows in ways that only quiet reflection allows. And when she re-enters the world, she does so with grace, confidence, and an unshakable presence. The pain that once defined her now empowers her, guiding her to healthier choices, wiser decisions, and a love that aligns with her soul. Daily life offers countless reminders of this principle. The mother who has endured sleepless nights and constant worry finds strength in moments alone with herself. The entrepreneur who faced bankruptcy or failure discovers creative solutions in the quiet hours of reflection. The student who faced rejection from a dream school realizes that solitude gave her the clarity to pursue an even greater path. Pain is universal, but the ability to turn it into power is rare, and it is cultivated in silence, in the private moments where no one else is watching, where only God and her spirit bear witness. Solitude allows her to transform fear into courage, anger into focus, regret into strategy. She understands that every difficult experience is a lesson wrapped in discomfort, a challenge meant to awaken her hidden potential. In the quiet of her own company, she evaluates what went wrong, identifies patterns, and sets boundaries. She learns resilience, the kind that cannot be shaken by circumstance, criticism, or chaos. She turns her experiences into fuel, her losses into leverage, and her heartbreaks into wisdom that illuminates her path forward. There is a certain kind of power that comes from surviving the storm alone, from staring at pain in the face and refusing to be defined by it. She doesn't boast about her suffering, nor does she seek sympathy. Instead, she quietly strengthens herself, knowing that the world cannot touch her core. Every tear she shed in solitude became a seed for growth. Every night she spent wrestling with doubt and fear became a training ground for her courage. Every moment she embraced discomfort became a stepping stone toward mastery over her life. The woman who turns pain into power becomes a magnet for respect and inspiration. People may try to dismiss her, belittle her, or test her, but they soon learn that she has endured storms they cannot imagine and emerged not broken, but refined. She has harnessed the secret that most never discover. Pain is not punishment, failure is not defeat, and loss is not the end. When processed in solitude, they are tools of transformation. They are the fire that strengthens her character, the weight that builds her resilience, and the storm that sharpens her vision. So, when the world sees her rise after hardship, unshaken, radiant, and unstoppable, they call it luck, talent, or timing. But she knows the truth. Her power came from the quiet hours, the moments spent alone with God and herself, where she allowed pain to teach her, refine her, and propel her forward. She is proof that solitude is not emptiness and pain is not weakness. Together, they are the alchemy of power, creating a woman who cannot be broken, manipulated, or ignored. And that is why a woman who embraces solitude, who turns her pain into power, is truly dangerous, not to the world, but to limitations, mediocrity, and fear itself. There is a woman who has learned the difference between moving under pressure and moving with purpose. The world is full of people rushing, reacting, and chasing the next thing because they are afraid of missing out, afraid of judgment, or afraid of failure. They are pushed by circumstance, influenced by opinion, and driven by urgency that has nothing to do with vision. But she moves errantly. She moves deliberately. She moves intentionally. She moves with purpose, and that makes her dangerous in the most extraordinary way, because she cannot be hurried, swayed, or shaken by what the world demands. Every morning when she wakes up, she does not wake up to chaos or distraction. She wakes up to intention. She knows what she stands for. She knows where she is going. She knows what she will and will not tolerate. She has a vision for her life, and that vision is rooted in alignment with God, with herself, and with her highest potential. While the crowd scrambles, panics, and settles for what is easy, she moves like a general mapping out her battlefield, choosing her steps carefully, watching for opportunities, and knowing that patience and focus create results that panic and haste can never achieve. Think about the woman in her career. She sees opportunities that others overlook because she does not rush to grab whatever comes first. When a promotion, a project, or recognition is offered, she evaluates it through the lens of her purpose, asking, does this align with my vision? Does this grow me, challenge me, or bring me closer to what I was created to achieve? She does not chase prestige or immediate approval. She does not compromise her values because of fear or pressure. Instead, she waits. She prepares. She positions herself. And when the right moment arrives, she acts with confidence, impact, and precision. Her success is inevitable because it is fueled by purpose, not urgency. Even in her personal life, she exhibits this power. She does not enter relationships out of loneliness or desperation. She does not compromise her integrity to please someone else. She moves with purpose and love, friendship and family. She invests in connections that uplift, challenge, and inspire her. She steps away from those that drain, manipulate, or misalign with truth. And she does this with patience, knowing that God's timing and her own discernment are infinitely wiser than any fleeting pressure to fit in or settle. Daily life is full of examples of people living under pressure. The mother juggling too much, the employee trying to meet unrealistic deadlines, the student scrambling to please everyone. Most move frantically, reactively, and emotionally. But she moves differently. She prioritizes what matters most. She knows that energy is a currency, and she spends it wisely. She does not react to every demand, every crisis, every distraction. She responds from clarity, intentionality, and purpose. And in that response lies her power, the power to influence, the power to inspire, the power to lead. Consider the decisions she makes about her time. The world may demand she says yes to every opportunity, every invitation, every expectation. But she evaluates each one against her purpose. Does it serve her growth? Does it align with her vision? Does it honor her values? If the answer is no, she declines. She moves strategically, not reactively. She understands that movement without purpose is exhaustion, and action without direction is wasted energy. The woman who moves with purpose conserves her strength, sharpens her focus, and positions herself for opportunities that will multiply her impact exponentially. Even when others are panicking, she remains calm. While the world reacts to fear, she responds to insight. While others chase approval, she pursues alignment. While others compromise to meet pressure, she waits, prepares, and positions herself to move decisively at the right time. That calm, purposeful movement is magnetic. It draws people, opportunities, and blessings. It makes her a leader. Whether she seeks that title or not, people sense the difference between someone who moves under pressure and someone who moves with purpose. They recognize the quiet confidence, the deliberate steps, the clarity of direction, and they are drawn to her because she embodies mastery over circumstance. Solitude has trained her to do this. In the quiet, she has reflected, planned, and prayed. She has evaluated her desires, assessed her strengths, and aligned herself with her purpose. She knows what she is building, and she refuses to be rushed or distracted. She understands that the right timing amplifies power, while premature action can derail vision. Every step she takes is measured, intentional, and guided by clarity. And that is what makes her not only effective, but unstoppable. The woman who moves with purpose does not need to explain herself. She does not justify her patience. She does not apologize for her focus. She knows that the results of purposeful movement speak louder than words, and while others scramble under pressure, she rises steadily, gracefully, and powerfully. That is why she is dangerous. Not because she seeks conflict or domination, but because she cannot be derailed by chaos, cannot be shaken by fear, and cannot be distracted from what she was meant to achieve. Her life becomes a testament to the power of intentional movement. Every decision, every step, every choice reflects her alignment with purpose. And people watch in awe as she navigates life with calm, courage, and precision. They may try to rush her, pressure her, or distract her, but they quickly learn that she answers only to her vision, her values, and the divine guidance that moves her forward. She is proof that purpose, not pressure, is the ultimate power. There is a woman who knows her worth, and she doesn't need anyone else to confirm it. In a world obsessed with likes, applause, recognition, and validation, she has discovered a truth many never learn. Your value is not determined by what others see, say, or think. She walks through life quietly confident, fully aware of her abilities, her spirit, and her destiny. She does not perform for approval. She does not compete for attention, and she does not shrink to make others comfortable. She knows who she is, and that knowledge is a power no one can take from her. Every day she watches people measure themselves against others. They compare, they compete, they seek validation from colleagues, friends, or strangers. But she does not fall into that trap. She has looked within and found a source of worth that is unshakable. It is not tied to a title, a relationship, or the applause of an audience. It is anchored in her integrity, her purpose, and the divine design that shapes her. While the world is chasing recognition, she is focused on refinement. While others seek attention, she cultivates substance. And that difference is what makes her dangerous in the most remarkable way, because she cannot be manipulated by praise or intimidated by criticism. Think about her everyday life. She may walk into a meeting where her ideas are overlooked, her contributions dismissed, or her presence underestimated. Most would panic, self-doubt creeping in, feeling the need to prove themselves. Not her. She knows her worth. She speaks when necessary, acts when necessary, and contributes in alignment with her purpose, not in response to the judgment of the room. She does not need to be seen by everyone to know that she is capable, intelligent, and valuable. That internal acknowledgement shields her from the highs of flattery and the lows of neglect, allowing her to navigate life with unshakable confidence. Even in relationships, this truth empowers her. She does not beg for love, attention, or approval. She does not settle for someone who cannot honor her value. She enters relationships from a place of abundance, not need. She gives freely, be you. She never compromises her essence. She does not measure herself by